You're wasting time with Arrow Productions. The best place to look at Gidget is in Malibu, which is where we went on this day of recording. These pictures are from Leo Carrillo State Beach, which is mentioned in the credits of the 1959 movie. The 1957 novel by Frederick Kohner is based on the adventures of his daughter who learned how to surf here 67 years ago, in the summer of 1956. Kathy Kohner made friends with a bunch of guys in a surf shack at the age of 15, brought them sandwiches, and had them teach her how to ride the waves. Now, she's Kathy Kohner Zuckerman, turns 82 this year of recording in 2023, and we hope she has talked to a biographer. I read the 2001 edition of the book printed for her 60th birthday. In this edition, you can see pictures from back then and how close the book is to what really happened. The guys are all there with their funny nicknames. Kathy's nickname was really Gidget, a portmanteau of the words girl and midget. She worked hard to learn to surf, and she kept it up for decades afterwards. The book has a picture of her in a wetsuit with her surfboard in 1995. The book also includes other details of her life. There are the trips to Europe, living in Berlin for a while, and both parents who spoke German, which Kathy probably knows. The book also has her speaking French at one point. A few things, however, are different. One minor detail that was changed was that the father in the book is a professor of German literature. Frederick Kohner was an Austrian screenwriter who worked in Germany before coming to the U.S. and working in Hollywood. The big change was that the family was not Jewish in the book. At one point, Gidget tries to make a Christmas pastry for the surfers that her mother had made every year. The pastry is the only reference to any religious views. The book also shows the Kohners were a close family. They were intelligent and well-read. Right at the beginning, there is a brick aimed at the head of Françoise Sagan, whose work is dismissed on the first page as those French novels from Sexville. Bonjour Tristesse had come out in 1954, and the Kohners probably read it in the original. This author is mentioned a few more times, never favorably. Gidget's real name in the book, Franzi, might even be a nod to the French author. The last two chapters appear to have two endings, one original and one that was asked for by the publisher. I have seen this in at least one other book, where I knew about the meetings. At the first ending, it's clear that Gidget and her would-be boyfriend aren't going anywhere. The last chapter has her 2 years later with his frat pin, and Jeff in the Army having been drafted. Having worked for over 30 years in the movies, Frederick Kohner would have known about leaving your options open for a sequel. At the very end, however, he gives his daughter the last word. All things considered, maybe I was just a woman in love with a surfboard. It's as simple as that. This is another point where the movies and the book diverge. It appears as though Jeff and Gidget were together for anything that was filmed. The IMDb lists Frederick Kohner as having worked on the first two Gidget movies, but the credits for Gidget in 1959 do not have him as a writer. The movie is nothing like the book, but again, as an industry veteran, he would have known how things work. In that context, it is impossible to tell whether he worked on the movie or not. While the book compares ski culture to surf culture, and the ski bums and the surf bums who made them, the movie has no such reference. No religious views are mentioned. The family has an Anglo last name, Lawrence. The father's job is not mentioned. No one has any second language skills. The first names are also different. Gidget in the book is named Franzi, spelled the German way, with a Z. Her name in the movie is Francie, with a C, as in cat. The movie family plays musical instruments, and Gidget does mention learning a lot from books, which makes them not as dim as they are popularly remembered. While Sandra Dee's Gidget shows depth occasionally, she generally has 3 speeds, just like Natalie Wood around the same time. She can be content, insistent, or hysterical. Gidget in the book was more of a well-rounded character. One thing the book hinted at, which the movie made explicit, was that maybe the oldest of the surf bums was a veteran with PTSD. In the movie, the big kahuna talks about flying in Korea and why he prefers to follow the sun and the waves instead of getting a job. It's hard to say whether the movie needs a remake or Kathy Kohner Zuckerman needs a biopic or both. I wonder what it was like for them in post-war Berlin, for Frederick especially, returning after he had escaped early from Hitler's rise to power. Also, Jeff Griffin in the book is an oil heir, and he appears to be at least somewhat modeled on Malibu's oil family, the Gettys. The story of Kathy Kohner Zuckerman generated a great book, a series of largely forgettable but scenic movies, and a TV show. Reading the book and watching the first movie generates so many questions. For now, we only have an answer to one question. Yes, Malibu is still worth visiting. Even though it has been crowded since before the Beach Boys started singing, there is still nothing like it.